Again, today we'll hand off the presentation to Sam. He has compiled some photographs and looks like time lapse progress showing the events of the last month. So with that, I'll let Sam take it away.
All right, thank you. All right, can everyone see my screen all right?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so I just started off, I'm sure everyone was aware of the 4th Street utility tie-ins we had. That was a 2-week duration. Everything went real smooth with that. So here is a picture of a couple days in. Well, I probably should have started with this one. Here's where they tied into the water main out in the street and a couple valves. Then you can see they're coming up right here. Here's where it runs into the building, and then those guys, they're working on tying into the building right here. And that's the new water service and fire suppression. So that went smooth. Everything was, we had 2 weeks scheduled for that, and we got done, well, 1 day early. Moving on here, this pour just happened yesterday. We are looking at booking. Obviously, some walls still need to go up. We have another pour happening today, and we're looking at getting all the slab poured within the next week or two here, depending on manpower. But once that happens, the roof will be watertight. They started today. They got a couple cranes on site. The roofers do. They got about 2 weeks on the high roof area, and that'll be watertight. And then the mechanical contractors will start roughing in over the top of where the cells are going to go. I just want to show, this is a little bit of the brick up on the high roof. Still has to get washed, but just to give you guys a little more of an idea, the rubber roof comes up above this bottom layer here. But so there's a little idea what the brick's going to look like. Here's the high roof. Here's a couple HVAC units, and then these are the skylights they're required by the DOC. So as you can tell, they're pretty involved. Then there's multiple other penetrations through the roof here. The last week, we've really hit the demo hard in the existing LEC. This wall came down, which you hired a company with a robot that comes in and jackhammers it. This wall came down in about 2 hours, which is pretty impressive. We were working with the jail staff and dispatch with that to mitigate any noise, and I think everything went really smoothly. Steve, you can touch on that too once we get through the pictures here. We had a couple openings that need to be cut in. Wanted to share a picture of the saw. It was pretty impressive blade they have on there. Here we had 7 openings that had to come through the precast from the attic down into where the new dispatch and the remodel area is going to be for ductwork to go up through. So just here's a picture of one of the penetrations. The saw cutters came in and did that. Oh, here's another pour that I shared. This is the rec area. This was done a couple weeks ago. And this is the hallway. So this is when you come in the main entrance. Well, this hallway goes down. That rec area is right down there, and then towards the end of that is housing.
Bridge faces the interstate.
Yeah, this is the bridge side down here. Yep. And then the link to the whole building is right here. Yeah, I'll share that time lapse just so you guys get an idea what happened the last 30 days here. A lot of interior stuff, so it doesn't look like a lot from here, but you can see the brick going up over there on the high roof. All right, is there any questions from anyone on those pictures? Steve, did you want to add anything as far as on the demo?
Yeah, well, first I'll just sort of add, just to reiterate again on the brick, so that what's going on the outside of the building. All the colors of the building, depending on which way you're looking at it. So right now, if you're looking at that brick, looking back towards the COB building or towards Fastenal's new building or towards the north, the Riverside, that brick matches those buildings really, really well. When you start to look from the 3rd Street side back into the building, you're going to have colors of that with some, what I'm going to call like hue colors of the courthouse, and then mixtures of like the Bizant stone, or what people are used to hearing Bizant stone, that limestone. So it's going to start to match into the 1888 courthouse. Now, it won't be perfect, but this building's a combination of the new that's downtown plus the 1888 building next door to try to match it all up. So depending on which angle you're standing at, you're going to start to get those different kind of snapshots of it all. So at the beginning part, when this building was put up, the CMU, and then it was sprayed for the moisture barrier on the outside, I did get quite a few calls of people like, that's it. I know commissioners got it, so did some administration and the sheriff, wondering that's the color that you're going with. And we were assuring them that this is part of a building process. Just like you're building a house, you got to put up your foundation, then you got to put up moisture proof, then you put up your 2x4s, and you got to put up some kind of moisture proofing on there too, like a tie-back wrapping. And then eventually get to like your so-called siding, or what the outside look of it's going to be like. And we're starting to get points of that. So if anybody's asking about it, please just reiterate, there is parts of this building right now that are starting to look like the finished color. So it's starting to come together, but there's just a lot of processes that have to happen around getting this done. So there's always moving parts. You can't just do it. You got to get certain things done first. And then just to touch base on the sound mitigation, that was a huge kudos to Market and Johnson, because we did not, and Ron can reiterate too if he wants to, the sheriff, we did not want to dump our dispatch center. Anytime that you do that, you always have a potential for issues with any kind of 911 calls, because sure as, you know, sliced pie, you're going to get a call that someone's going to say that I need to be up at Hazy Hill or something specific to this area, or there was other areas that the sheriff was talking about that another dispatch center would have no idea about. So we didn't want to have the opportunity that anybody dialing 911 from this area wouldn't get the services that they were used to, which is the Premier 911 services. So we wanted to keep it here. So this was quite a few month process trying to figure out how to make sure that we could mitigate the sound by doing test drills, test saw cuttings, making a bunch of noise in the jail, and discovering that, and it's probably a little too loud. I don't think we can manage a 911 call during that. So then we ended up using a lot of this 3 or 3.5 inch foam that's part of this jail process. But since we were at that point, it sort of just all came together where we could start to put up these little sound barriers throughout the jail, the dispatch, and the LEC. So you're in a concrete building. If you put a hammer drill anywhere, you're going to hear it somewhere in the building. It's just going to reverberate through there. But the amount of noise that's coming through, we had to make sure that, number one, dispatch needed to be least affected. Then after that, even though the jail was pretty, prime too, because we have inmates and staff back there, that was also equally as important. But we wanted to make sure, like I said, 911 was taken care of, and then the jail was taken care of too. And they did these serious cuts in a few days with very little effect to the jail and even less effect to the dispatch. So it was a very, very good job. So ultimately, it also saved money too, because we didn't have to ship the staff out, send people out to other kind of counties, potentially have overtime and stuff. And Market and Johnson never even argued once or even displayed anything that they were in any kind of argument of trying to mitigate this. They just made this part of the process, and it was much appreciated.
Yeah. I guess one more thing to add.
I shouldn't say argue. I mean, just sort of, not that there was any kind of tension. That was probably the wrong word.
Yeah.
But I mean, we worked quite well to make sure that it was done the best.
Yeah. And then I'm looking forward over the next month. We got the masons are going to be finishing up on the roof. Hopefully by the end of this week or early next week. And then they're going to be starting on the 4th Street side with the veneer. So you guys are going to be seeing a lot more veneer going up around the building. And then once the roof is done, like I said, the mechanical contractors are going to be hitting her hard to get everything in before the cells show up, which is scheduled for middle of October. So once that's what that big opening is on the side. I know we touched on that last time. On the bridge side, we have that opening, and that's where they're going to haul the cells in. Once they get all them in, that'll be getting patched up as well. Tyler, do you have anything you wanted to add?
No, we're good.
Danielle?
No, I think just mentioning once again that if anybody wanted to take a tour, I think Market and Johnson's done incredibly well coordinating that. I think just a couple days notice to make certain that you guys have enough hard hats and safety gear. And then our next scheduled meeting for the committee is Tuesday, September 27th at 9 a.m. All right, any questions from anybody? Dave?
Yeah, just kind of looking forward, what sort of challenges remain regarding, I guess, upcoming, whether it's materials, equipment, labor, budget, schedule. I mean, my perception is that there's been a really good effort at this point to manage all those things, but what sort of challenges lie ahead that could cause some hiccups?
That's a good question.
Yeah, no, I would say if anything, honestly, the most important thing is to get the building watertight for the winter and windows and everything temped in for when we need to start heating the building for finishes. I think that's the biggest thing. Other than that, I think we've had some long lead items that they fit into our schedule, so we haven't really had any issues with that. Budget wise on that, hoping we're on the downtrend of seeing any little changes if we have anything on site or in the project. Yeah, I guess honestly, I don't really see anything specific coming up. You know, we've been in contact with Excel to get permanent power on site, permanent gas, get that meter on site for temp heat and everything like that. So we're not using propane for budget costs, stuff like that. So I'm not gonna lie, I think it's sitting well right now. So
Site utilities will be probably the biggest push to get, so we have water.
Getting the retention tanks in and those things, that'll be big key to get that in. So we're managing once the roof gets on, managing that water that's on top of the roof system, and just getting the site buttoned up, I guess, for the winter. So,
Which means what the utilities is at the end, right?
Well, they're going to get those retention ponds in
right,
this fall.
But the utilities as far as the water or the electrical,
Oh,
that was going to be the very end.
yeah, the actual tie-in, there'll be a shutdown of the existing LEC at some point, but that'll be the later part of the project. But we'll still get the transformer on site and stuff like that. So we do have some, so they can start working on the new build connection. And then the last thing we do is tie it over to the LEC. So
I saw both the sheriff and the chief deputy turn, because that just means that that is what I believe Dave Kramer's bringing up. What kind of hiccup? That would be another potential hiccup right there. If the power transfer didn't go very smooth, that would not a good thing for our dispatch, stuff like that. So we're working in Johnson, Architect, Key Electric. We've already been starting to discuss that, even though that's not going to be till next year. The other kind of issue that potentially could be is the backfeed. If there's going to be any kind of issue with parking or parking spaces that are going to have to be vacated for a while they're making sure that power comes back. I don't really quite know exactly how much room Excel is going to need to do anything or what, but we'll figure that out and let people know in advance, like we've done so far with all the parking or the lane closures. So, but Sam did an awesome job on it. Just want to let you know too that Market and Johnson and us also walked over to all the homeowners. We knocked on every door prior to closing down 4th Street, let them know what was going to go on, because we knew that if Excel came in or some big company like that, they're just going to shut it down, and we didn't want to do that. So we worked really good with them on letting them know when we're going to close it. We worked with them on where to park and how we can stage things, and worked with the other vendors and stuff. So I think we were beyond a really good neighbor and everything went really well. I would say that they weren't happy with it just because it wasn't normal, but they sure weren't frustrated with it either. And they were so happy that we went over there, always talked to them. And pretty much everybody went over every day to make sure everything's okay. So,
On that, we do have a Third Street will be shut down. We'll be sending out a notification once we get a date nailed down, but we have a utility tie-in in Third Street as well. So that'll be within the next month, I would.
Yeah.
But we'll send out a notification on that as well.
Yeah, no, the only other big key item was obviously the cells, which I think we've gotten that date pretty pinned down with them. So that's another big milestone task. But
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
yep.
Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, I think we can adjourn. Thanks, everyone.
thank you.
Yep.
See you
Thanks.
next
Thank
month.
you.
Good day.